Welcome to the deep dive. We take the sources you're curious about, go deep, and pull out those key insights.
Yeah, basically getting you straight to the heart of the matter, maybe finding a few things you didn't quite catch the first time.
Exactly. And today, it's a single source, but wow, it's intense. It's a personal account called Caught in the Trap, A Husband's Betrayal. And this isn't, research or news. It's raw, one-man story.
And our job here isn't just to retell it because, frankly, the story itself is harrowing enough if you have the source. We want to dig into how it's told.
Right.
Look at the details the author chooses, the emotional journey he maps out, and the impact he says it had.
Yeah, dissecting the source itself. What makes it hit so hard? And he kicks it off with a question that just grabs you, doesn't it? Yeah. What would you do?
It really does. That opening pulls you right in, asks you to put yourself in an impossible situation. Then the source quickly paints the picture. Daniel Grayson, software guy in Austin, big success promotion, flying home happy.
And really excited for his 5th anniversary. He's got plans, specific ones, the spa, the sapphire pendant for his wife, Rachel. The source makes sure you feel his anticipation.
Which makes the next part even starker. The source immediately brings in Rachel's jealousy, describes it as intense, going far beyond words.
Yeah.
And it mentions this wasn't new, there was tension. He'd even offered apparently to let her hire a PI. That detail alone tells you a lot about where things were before this night.
And he's candid, the author, about his own so-called secrets. He stresses, not cheating, but business stuff, family drama, things that maybe weren't wrong but could look wrong if twisted. And he adds that telling line, Rachel, she had a way of twisting.
And that framing is crucial. He's setting up a dynamic where trust was already thin, where suspicion was sort of always simmering.
So he's flying home, can't reach her. That feels off to him. He even mentions taking a heart pill because the stress, the pressure in his chest is rising.
Right, a physical reaction. And the source connects this to something else about him, this blackout focus or rare adrenaline spike response he has under extreme pressure.
Yeah, where he says he stops thinking and starts moving.
Exactly. It's like foreshadowing, hinting at how he might react later when things get really bad.
He gets home. It's dark, empty house, car's gone. Classic sign something's wrong, right? But it piles on to his existing anxiety. Then Rachel calls. And the way he describes her voice, cheerful, too cheerful, like she was reading a script.
That description, reading a script, is such a key nugget in the source. It immediately signals something fake, something performed. It mirrors his own feeling that this isn't right.
She gives him this address, East Side, for an anniversary surprise.
And the drive there just makes it worse. He describes this industrial area, chain link fences, garages. It doesn't feel like a party spot at all.
No.
The house itself confirms it. Crooked, bare yard, loud music, trucks outside. Zero signs of celebration. Every instinct is screaming, leave.
But Rachel's supposedly inside. He goes in. Meets this guy, Trey, with a smile that's described as knowing something you don't.
Chilling.
And these other guys welcoming him like the man of the hour, saying, welcome to the club. So cryptic.
Very unsettling. He asks for Rachel, they point downstairs, offer him a drink, mention the place used to be a friend's, now it's a social spot, private setup.
And that word private apparently just echoes in his head, like a warning bell.
The feeling that this is all planned, orchestrated, just builds and builds. He tries to text Rachel, but they say she's already down there.
Yeah, the door creaks open. Someone says, ready. The men kind of shift, position themselves, and this tall guy gestures to the basement door.
And even though his gut is screaming no, he goes down. The source makes that clear. Driven by anxiety, maybe hope, need to find her.
Yeah. And then the door closes behind him. The source notes it wasn't just closed, it was an intentional click.
Trap sprung. He's isolated. The shift from unease to active danger is complete.
Okay, so now he's heading down into this basement. The source paints a grim picture. Bare stairs, flickering lights.
Yeah, the air, heavy, damp, smells like chemicals, disinfectant, and sweat. Built to hide things, it feels like.
And then he sees it. A platform. Like a stage. And in front of it, one single folding chair, facing the stage.
And a camera. Mounted, pointed right at the chair.
This is not a party. He knows it now. The source says this is orchestrated.
A man tells him take a seat. He hesitates, you can picture it, but he sits down, just on the edge. Still maybe a tiny part of him hoping it's some bizarre misunderstanding.
That hope vanishes instantly. 2 men appear, seemingly out of nowhere, the source says, from the shadows, and zip tie his wrists to the armrests, ankles to the legs.
He struggles, shouts, "What the hell are you doing?" But nothing. Silence. Which just makes it worse, right? That feeling of being completely powerless.
He calls out for Rachel. And then her voice from behind a curtain. The force describes it so brutally. Calm. Cold, familiar.
Wow. That combination. Familiar yet cold. Deeply disturbing.
She comes out. But, as the source says, not the Rachel I married. She looks deliberate, like she's dressed for theater. Her movements feel rehearsed.
It underscores the performance aspect, the planned cruelty. This isn't impulsive anger, it's a production.
He demands to know what's going on. And her reply, chilling, this they called consequences.
And then the proof comes out. She tosses a photo onto the table next to him,
A photo of him laughing with a woman at a restaurant.
which he immediately identifies. That's my sister Leah. I saw her in Seattle. Simple explanation.
But the source says Rachel just refuses to hear it, accuses him of cheating based only on that picture. She already built the narrative.
And that's the core of the betrayal here, isn't it? Not just the trap itself, but the utter rejection of truth. She chose this damaging story.
He points it out, you assumed you built this instead of just asking me. But she cuts him off. I don't owe you explanations, not after what you did.
And then the source gives us her stated motivation, stark naked. You humiliated me, Daniel. Now it's your turn. It reveals this deep desire for revenge, driven by her own perceived humiliation, based on a narrative she created.
She walks back behind the curtain, leaves him there, tied up. And the source gives us his devastating realization. This isn't about love anymore. It's about power.
Yeah. That moment marks the complete breakdown. It's not a troubled marriage anymore. It's a power struggle, fueled by her need to inflict pain.
So he's tied there. The source shifts focus inside his head now. Time slows down, limbs are going numb, but his mind, still sharp.
He forces himself to breathe, draws on, as the source puts it, years of training.
That training detail is important, isn't it? It suggests his survival wasn't just panic, but something practiced.
Exactly. It grounds his later actions. Then he hears them coming downstairs, footsteps, voices, and the source notes their tone. Excited.
Ugh. That tells you so much about the accomplices.
While looking straight ahead, he subtly scans the little table beside him and spots it. Under the photo, the edge of something metal, a tiny bottle opener.
A flicker of hope. He starts working on the zip tie on his right wrist, slowly, carefully sawing with the edge of that opener. The source describes the effort, the sweat, every second stretching out.
And the timing described in the source is just incredible. He hears Rachel's voice, all performative. Well, looks like our guest of honor is ready, telling the men to show our man a good time.
And right then, snap.
Yeah.
The plastic on his right wrist breaks.
He waits, just until the footsteps are right beside him. Then the source says he explodes out of the chair. Something inside me detonated.
That blackout focus kicking in.
Totally. Left hand rips free, ankles too. Chair crashes, the men are stunned. He reacts instantly, hits the one reaching for him.
The source describes the fight in flashes. Fists, elbows, something broke. A man dropped. Chaos.
He grabs the camera tripod, swings it, uses the tool of his humiliation as a weapon. More yelling, more bodies down.
He pushes past the guy blocking the stairs, scrambles up. Door's locked. He just throws his shoulder into it again. Again, fourth try, it splinters, breaks open.
Bursts outside. He's injured, totally disoriented, realizes his keys are still inside.
So he just runs. The source says no destination, no direction, just away.
Yeah.
Pure survival instinct.
Finds a house with a porch light, pounds on the door. A woman calls 911. Help arrives. He tells them everything.
Back at the house, it's chaos. Some guys fled, some are still there, and they find Rachel in the basement. The source says she was cornered, confused, swearing it was all a joke.
The immediate denial. But the police, the source notes, don't buy it. And when they bring her out in cuffs, he observes that for the first time in years, she looks scared, not angry. Her control is gone.
And the aftermath. Chilling details surface. Evidence this group had done it before. Not everyone got out. Hidden cameras, forged releases.
And encrypted drives linked to an illegal website where they monetize these so-called revenge events.
Unbelievable. It wasn't just personal revenge. It was organized, depraved, criminal.
And the key evidence. They filmed it all. Plus an email from Rachel weeks earlier. The source quotes it. I want him to feel powerless, like I do every time I wonder who he's really with.
There it is. Her insecurity directly fueling this elaborate, cruel, monetized plan. The source makes it clear. The moment she suspected him, with zero proof, he became the enemy.
He cooperates fully. Trial happens. Her defense tries the prank gone too far, emotionally unstable angle.
Doesn't work. Jury convicts. Multiple charges, 15 years.
And when Daniels asks if he has anything to say at sentencing, his response, as recorded in the source, is profound.
I hope she gets the help I couldn't give her.
Wow. Shows how much processing he'd already done, focusing on her issues, not just his own pain.
He files for divorce, obviously, cuts all ties, starts therapy, and the source shares this powerful insight he gained there.
Yeah, trauma doesn't always come from strangers. Sometimes it comes from people we loved because they were close enough to aim straight for the heart. So true. The source then describes him 11 months later. Healing. Physical wounds gone, nightmares fading, learning to trust silence again.
Even starting to date again, cautiously, prioritizing honesty above all.
And how does the source say he ultimately survived? Not the physical fight.
No, it was the silence that came after, the peace he finally made. Guided by that inner voice saying, you don't have to explain your peace to anyone who tried to destroy it.
A powerful closing thought in the source. Finding peace on your own terms, independent of the abuser, that's real survival.
What an incredibly intense journey laid out in that source. Looking at how the author built that narrative, used those specific details, it really puts you right there in the horror and the aftermath.
It really does. And analyzing the characters, Daniel goes from this successful guy planning an anniversary to someone fighting for his life, then slowly rebuilding. It's quite a transformation depicted there.
And Rachel. The source shows her jealousy festering into this calculated, theatrical, monetized cruelty.
It's genuinely chilling to see how suspicion and a desire for power, maybe misguided vengeance, could lead someone there.
And you can't forget the accomplices mentioned in the source, the men who participated. It points to this disturbing subculture, these revenge events. The moral vacuum there is just vast.
Yeah. While the specifics are extreme, the source touches on themes many people can unfortunately relate to, right? Breakdown of trust, betrayal by someone close, the long road to healing from trauma. His final thoughts about finding peace really stick with you.
Absolutely. Thinking about Daniel's path and the choices Rachel and the others made, as presented in the source, it leaves you with some difficult questions.
Like, based on this account where betrayal stemmed from pure assumption, how could you even begin to contemplate forgiveness or rebuilding trust? Could you ever?
And what does Daniel's internal focus, his reliance on training and that blackout instinct, tell us about how people find resilience when faced with something so deliberately cruel and, frankly, bizarre? And maybe the toughest one. Considering the source links Rachel's actions to her feelings of humiliation and powerlessness, what does this story ultimately suggest about the destructive spiral of jealousy when it combines with a need for control or revenge?
Heavy questions to ponder.
Definitely. If this story moved you, don't forget to like and subscribe on YouTube.